The basic concept is this. I play an LAPD cop who isn't who he seems. He's a paranoid schizophrenic who has a supernatural gift. He sees things, and he senses a change in the city.
Crime suddenly skyrockets for no apparent reason. The world is coming to an end. And he's the only one who can see the truth.
What's the truth?
When you're making a film like this, the script really just becomes a blueprint, and you're making a schedule in a way, because you know you're not going to get more days. You're not going to have a studio come in and just like let you just keep adding days or anything. Like, you're only going to be at the Santa Monica Pier for 2 days. You're only going to own the Sidewalk Cafe on the Venice Boardwalk for 2 days. You know, you're only going to be able to shut down that intersection at 4th and Hill for one night. You know, so you only have this limited framework of time. And here I had this incredible cast of actors. I've got like 8 people who are from Saturday Night Live. I've got another 3 or 4 people who have hosted Saturday Night Live at some point. You know, I've got like these incredible performers who are really good at improv and who can just think on their feet, and they can do anything that you ask of them. In my mind, that's a gift. And so every day on set, I was just encouraging as much improv as possible. Let's come up with new ideas. We know what the scene is, but let's all just let's try new things. Let's add stuff. If you have a joke, if you have like a line of dialogue you want to come up with, just go for it. I wanted to give everyone that amount of freedom. The architecture of the story was pretty concrete, but then I just wanted to give everyone that freedom to try new things. But even, you know, Sean, you know, and all the comedy work he had done, and Dwayne in the wrestling ring, I mean, he's improvising. He's coming up with monologues, and I mean, for me not to give all these actors as much breathing room as possible to come up with things and try new things on set, I feel like I would be doing a great disservice not only to them as performers, but to the film itself.
You wanna fuck or watch a movie?
Let's watch a fucking movie.
Every time you go out with a camera with Richard, it becomes an adventure. And that's kind of the way I approached it when he came to me and said, this is a story we're going to do. I said, when do we start? Okay, I'm ready. And of course, you know, he promised me, you know, we'll have more time than we had on Donnie Darko. Don't worry about it. And in fact, we did have more time to make that movie. Donnie Darko, I think, was 24 days and maybe 1 day of pickups. We ended up with 27 days, I think it was, on Southland Tales. So we got 3 more days, you know, it was a big deal.
One has to give so much credit to production design and props and the art director to translate Richard's vision and to collaborate with Richard. Not only find these, you know, locations that can be turned into, you know, this world that he imagines.
One of the great partners that we have in this process is Alec Hammond, who delivered for no money. He delivered sets for us that were remarkable, that just fit within the structure of the script and fit within the flow of our work.
With respect to this sort of future world building of the film, in Southland Tales, it was sort of a 2-tiered approach, and we only were able to get 1 tier kind of where we needed it to be. This is an unfinished film, and there's still a whole lot more that I could do with it to kind of achieve the 2nd tier of it. We shot the film in 2005. The film opens in 2005 with a nuclear attack in Abilene, Texas, and then it flashes forward into an alternate future world that may be some kind of dream world, maybe the whole thing is a dream world, in 2008. So it is this very near future jump. It's only 3 years into the future, but you know, there is a line in the script delivered by Sarah Michelle Gellar, who plays Krista now, this sort of prophet, porn star, entrepreneur character, where she says the
future's going to be far more futuristic than they originally predicted.
it's this ridiculous fucking line of dialogue. It's the most ridiculous line I've ever written, or probably will ever write. But to me, it's kind of hilarious, and it makes you just think about where we think that we're headed is never exactly where we end up.
I have a question for the Supreme Court. Okay. What happens when a woman has sex on a flight from London to Los Angeles, then takes the morning after pill while flying across the time zone?
I don't know.
Then it becomes the morning before pill.
You are genius.
Hello.
That
Can't
is
answer to that.
brilliant.
Yeah.
I know.
Would it still work?
If we get there, we are like, that's like one of our first issues we are opening up with.
You have to figure out what the aesthetic is as you make it. Because how do you, I mean, as a designer, is there really a concept that you can do that deals with Sherry O'Terry's beatboxing in live slam poetry beatboxing in a bar and a fake marital squabble on a house that they're going to move in for a fake killing to frame somebody, and John Lovitz in an Upu car, and US ident head doing yoga in transparent suits? I mean, it just presenting myself after I've already designed it as those things as a place to jump off from, you don't even know where to start. And I think the truth is, you can't, if you knew where to start, it wouldn't be any fun.
Penetrating.
It's just a suggestion.
The military-industrial complex that is being supported not through tax dollars, but rather through sponsorships from adult magazines. The Hustler tank is one of my favorite things. I mean, I really wanted it to be pink, but we couldn't quite pull that off. Getting a tank brought down to the beach at Redondo and putting graphics on it at 5 o'clock in the morning so it could whip across belching smoke, protecting what? With a World War II era tank, and being supported by the Hustler logo on the outside. Just it's insanity in a really great way.
I have a lot of ambition, and I like to do things that are pushing the envelope, not only just like the content of what we're creating, being questionable in terms of, is it, are people gonna understand what it is, or is it gonna be, can they market it, all of those kind of questions. But the challenges that I put forward in a lot of what I do is schedule and budget. On every movie that I've done, everyone's just like, Richard, I don't know if you can do this. This is too much. You're trying to do too much. You don't have enough money and you don't have enough days. You need to cut this stuff back. And I always push back and say, let's try. Let's do our best. Let me prove you wrong. Let's make some room. Let me try and prove to you that I can pull this stuff off.
We just managed to, we were so efficient and had such a good team behind us, and everybody was having a good time on that picture, that we were able to get everything in that we wanted to get in.
Then everyone takes a deep breath. On Friday night, when everyone goes to have a drink and we do a party on Saturday night, we take that breath from the first week and everyone is energized. They're like, holy shit, we pulled off week one at this level of ambition, and we actually shot everything that you wanted to shoot, and we kind of got it all. And they all kind of like, they start to realize that we can pull it off.
Do you bleed? I said, do you bleed?
Yeah, dog.
Then you take the blood train. You talk to God without even seeing him. You hear his voice, and you see his disciples. They appear like angels under a sea of black umbrellas.
Justin Timberlake's the music video scene on the pier was a day in which I remember mainly because I was wondering how we were going to pull it off. To do this giant sequence, which is, so much choreography and dealing with shooting at the arcade, dealing with the timing, the day, the parking, how we were going to make all of that work for that scene is not always the easiest thing to do.
They finally capitulated and said, okay, well, you can do it after lunch, but that's it. That's all you get.
It was just completely crazy, but I was able to convince everyone to take 4 hours out of our very expensive day at the Santa Monica Pier and go for it.
We designed 3 Steadicam shots that flowed us through the place. The young ladies were being rehearsed during the morning while we were shooting something else. When I get a challenge like that, we have 3 hours to do this. It's fun to be able to work like that.
Once we got to take 4 and everyone was watching, I remember Cameron Diaz was on set. She came to visit Justin because they were dating. And it was like this excitement because everyone could see that it was working. Like everyone could see from the playback of Justin lip syncing to the song that it was really working and that it was really exciting.
If you look into what's actually happening in that scene and you realize that Richard is actually, he's writing the experience of vets that come back from Fallujah and Iraq. He's writing partially about what happens to the American psyche by being at war for that amount of time. Even back then, it feels like a Busby Berkeley musical number in the middle of an arcade on the Santa Monica Pier with a dude whose job it is to be on a sniper nest, pointing not out to defend the country, but pointing in.
And people immediately strategizing, like, how do we get the song? How do we send this, cut this together and send it to the killers and convince them to let us use the song? A lot of the budget of the movie went into really expensive, very difficult, very challenging locations. Putting SWAT vehicles on the Venice boardwalk and doing a SWAT team raid on a big, huge, high traffic area of the Venice boardwalk is very challenging. You've got to shoot that in like 45 minutes. Southland Tales, we knew that we did not have enough money to do everything we wanted to do. And in the back of my mind, I knew to finish building out the world of Southland Tales, it would be CGI, to do the big, wide stuff that I wanted to do.
When we were doing Southland Tales, the Staples Center wasn't finished. There's a big giant hole in the ground. And one of the things that it gave us the opportunity to do is, since we needed to do a CG exterior of the Trier Corporation headquarters, is it gave us a void in the LA skyline that was we were able to use from certain vantage points, because we could basically lay in and circle around and do drone shots around and do 3D CG shots around where the Trier Corporation headquarters was going to be and not have any buildings in the way.
I never ever got the CGI. To this day, the CGI in this movie is not finished. It's nowhere close to being finished. And that's what I still want to do.
No longer must we burn the spirits of the dead. No longer must we treat our precious ozone layer like the bastard stepchild of the cosmos. No longer can even the most jaded neocon fat cat deny the majesty of our mother ocean.
That company is an energy company that is projecting themselves as a green solution to climate change, to global warming, to pollution. So when you look at those designs for that, the Trier Tower triumvirate of buildings, you also see that it's all about water. And it's got waterfalls on the front of it. It is one thing cascading into the other, which then changes and cascades into the other. The logo for the Trier Corporation is a distorted American map. It's a distorted version of the Electoral College map. And where votes go in the red and blue states and then we're merging into purple, what we took, and it's basically a distortion of the United States. And it's a distortion of the United States electoral politics.
Mr. Santeros, welcome to the Mark Suite. Now Simon says lower your sidearm, please. Are you just deaf or willfully stupid? I told you to lower that fucking sidearm! And there you go. Well, come on in.
We had Ron Cobb, who sadly he just passed away, one of the great concept artists who worked on Back to the Future and Aliens, and we got him to do the Mega Zeppelin and to do the Trier Saltaire SUV. And so his design schematics, we never even really got to realize them to the degree that we wanted.
The city is filled with excitement and anticipation as the hangar doors are scheduled to open at any moment, giving Southland residents their first glimpse at the Trier Mega Zeppelin.
But it's all in scale, and it was beautifully designed. The trick was, what was that scale? And the proportions of the ship all tied together, but when you look at it being 1,100 feet long, what I did from there is say, okay, there was no interior spaces. Where is it piloted from? Where's the ballroom that they're doing the final scene in? How does this thing actually work? Where does it dock? In any realistic sense, we only had enough money for the main ballroom, even with a sort of a large budget take on it. We knew we weren't going to be able to do the anteroom to that, the hallways going into it. So we were also looking for locations that had a feeling they could be inside this giant lighter than aircraft. And we ended up with this wonderful little cafe in the Pacific Design Center that is the initial first big walk and talk, sort of the Goodfellas shot.
Welcome to Club Jenny on the Trier Mega Zeppelin. Please place your thumb on the scanner for security purposes.
And then when it became clear that we weren't going to be able to do the full thing there, I was at a loss. A Mega Zeppelin is not something that you can double very well for the interior of anywhere in Los Angeles. It just doesn't really exist. And I had shot in the Skirball Center once before, and I think I'd been there for a dinner, and I remembered the ceiling. It's basically a semi-cylindrical room with a series of sound-baffling panels that arch up to the ceiling. And if in the colonnade that supported the upper level, we could put some windows that looked like they were the exterior windows of the Mega Zeppelin. And then we built a little teeny piece that linked the two of those together. Because basically at the Pacific Design Center, we entered through the front door, we went all the way through this little cafe, and we exited back out into the kitchen.
So we were able to do the Steadicam shot into the restaurant, from the elevator into the restaurant, all through the restaurant, having interactions in the restaurant, and then into that kind of elevator entrance into the ballroom, which then carried the Steadicam shot through the ballroom all the way up to the stage.
You could do this film as a high piece of design, or you could do this film as a piece of pop art. And in some ways, we did it as pop art. And as soon as you do it as pop art, the rules go away in the same way. Lots of things can stick to the wall. You're creating the visual world by the fact that it has no rules.
Mr. Boxer Centauros has arrived.
Excellent.
Like every stunt you see in this movie, we had one take. That's it. We did not have 3 times to flip the ice cream truck. We flipped the ice cream truck once. That's all we got. That's all. When we ripped the ATM machine out of the wall, we did that once. There was no second take at all. Literally every expensive stunt or gag or thing that you see in this movie with action or squibs or stunts, it's done literally in one take with just everyone saying a prayer that it's going to work.
Staging the end of the world with what did we have? I don't think we had much more than 30 extras or something in that final sequence, but we were able to stage in a way that made it look like huge crowds were pouring into downtown, but there was very, very few extras. So each shot had to be kind of designed in a way that compressed it all.